heard from a new nonprofit in the Twin Cities. Just last Tuesday evening, I was at a dinner, and they have 3 or 4 different nonprofits. It's this group called Amplify, and they amplify different works of nonprofits in our city. And this nonprofit said our job is to help churches use their facilities when they got facilities available. And I'm really thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful if some unused church facilities in our community might become centers of vocational education and get people prepared to step into the job market soon. These are short-term programs, 10 weeks, and they get people prepared and out, or 20 weeks, and they get folks prepared and they get them into apprenticeships as carpenters, as heavy equipment operators, as people who are, walking alongside public health workers. They move them, and that's how they just keep churning people through these things. It's just marvelous.
Jerry and I were talking at lunch today about, because he's a business guy as well as a pastor, finding people who can work, who are qualified. Did you find it interesting that he thinks we're going to be in this labor? It's not a short-term thing. I mean, he's predicting this is a 20-year deal, trying to find people that are actually qualified to work, and if you can crank those out all day long, they'll have a job.
The birth rate's down.
Yes, I mean,
And I think his thing on time, on target relates back to what we did earlier this morning, is show up and do what you promise.
yeah.
That's a good way of translating it. What we put ourselves out into the communities, that we are going to show up and we are going to do what we promise.
And organizations, by the way, that rely on volunteers, or even like schools, some of you are engaged in literacy efforts and all that, and it's interesting, he says start at the young end, and grow this thing. The biggest complaint is folks who overpromise and underdeliver, particularly when it comes to volunteer workforce. So that is crucially big.
One of the things that I was looking at is that I had a couple of things that I printed out. And maybe this is from a recent article, he has started a program that is helping junior high and high schoolers develop technical proficiency in the local schools in North Minneapolis, which is predominantly urban, poor, black area of our city. He's working with the schools that are near Summit Academy OIC and helping these kids succeed. In fact, I sat down with him one day. I don't know if you ever heard of this, but a lot of kids in the suburban schools are using what they call Raspberry Pi computers. These are $30 computers that you can get, you can buy them online. They're the coolest. I've got one myself, and you can learn how to program in Python on them, and they use them for robotics. They're about the size of a cigarette case, and you might have to buy a cheap keyboard to go with it. But it will drive it can be put up on any monitor or screen. Like you can just use a HDMI cord and plug it in the back of it, and the computer comes to life right in front of you. And so he and I were talking about ways that we could begin to teach kids and have them, we said, as a reward, we can help these kids play with, get into gaming and get onto gaming teams that are playing against the suburban kids out there. But for the most part, they might be working on robotics themselves and learning how to do this. Raspberry Pi, it's spelled like raspberry and then P-I, and it's a foundation out of England that makes these computers available for $30 each. Unbelievable.
And is it Raspberry Pi that's running the program for the junior high and high schools?
No, they run that through, they have Best Buy, because Best Buy is located in our city.
He was talking with our friend here.
Okay,
Lewis King.
He was talking
so
to
Lewis
Lewis
King
about
has a
starting.
program for junior high and high school.
They're
Okay, 'cause I'm interested
conceptualizing
in
that.
that.
It's a Best Buy tech program
Okay,
that they're doing with kids in the city.
okay.
And I mean, Lewis has more ideas than he can possibly do at any given time, but because he's from the military, he knows how to focus his resources and get things done. And a lot of times, we have so many good ideas. At some point, you gotta go from having a lot of good ideas to boiling them down and saying, what's gonna make the biggest difference right now? And he's doing that. And he's knocking it out of the park. And that's why they've asked him to be the CEO of all the OICs around the country. What a blessing, isn't it? So glad we have guys like Lewis King in this world.
And I appreciate your sticking with it, EB, till we figured it out, so we could pipe him in, and for you lining that up. I mean, that's huge potential. He'll owe you.
I owe him right
For
now.
two new OICs. I mean, you know, this is easy stuff. I want you to do something fun now. I don't care whether you think it's fun or not. You just decide ahead of time. This is fun. I'm going to let you build a bridge together. There are going to be 2 teams. Angela has decided what team you're on, so I don't want to hear you complaining.
Three
You don't
teams.
like the people that you're.
Three
we're
teams.
3 teams. That's. Once you quit, yeah.
Don't argue with her.
I know it. That's what I'm saying. We've got 3 teams, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be. I'm the one that can't remember anything. And so if you don't like the people she's assigned you to, then this would be a good time to take an emergency phone call. You know, go out or just go to the bathroom and never re-emerge for about the next 40 minutes. We'll send somebody in thinking you're dying or something. But anyway, so you're going to work together on building a bridge. It's going to be a suspension bridge. She's handing you your number right now, so pay attention to me, though. Don't pay attention to that number she's giving you. You'll need it soon enough, but each team will have a copy of these instructions, but we have learned from previous cohorts, who are much slower than you, of course, but that repetition sometimes helps. You're going to build a suspension bridge that's going to hold a book, and I haven't got the book with me right now, but I will, so it's got to hold something. Out of the materials that we're going to supply you at each of these tables, the materials are up there. You've got 10 minutes of prep time. So as soon as I say go, you get to your table and they're marked right after 1, 2, and 3 over there. They're going to be. Yeah, and so that would be fun right now. Just go over there and fight for a table. They're identical. 10 minutes that you can talk through your plan and elect a leader. Because every team's got to have a leader, and the leader is designated. It'll say there that, you know, put the little leader sign on, because we want to know who the leader is, so we know who to take out first. When it comes, 10 minutes to talk it through. Then you're going to have at the end of 10, and we'll tell you exactly when. You have to go silent. No more talking. You have 20 minutes in silence to build the bridge. So don't mess around and miss those 10 minutes have to count, because after that, it's sign language or whatever, a grunt. No, you can't even grunt. That's disallowed. No sound. Wow. So that's it. All right, there's a set of these instructions on each table. Go get your leader and get to talking about how you're going to build this bridge out of what you got.